Hi everyone, I'm Josh and welcome to Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is based on 4 steps to rebuilding scales. A lot of you have asked for more videos targeting the left hand, so we will be looking at left hand scales today. Second, I have a student who I was working with yesterday in a lesson. Amazing student. He's only worked with me for maybe 9 months or so. At this point, I can't even remember when we started. And he's progressed a lot, but we were working on scales, and he said, the left hand descending direction coming down the keyboard is where I seem to have the most trouble. So we'll be doing that. Third, little backstory on why I'm making this video is I actually kind of lost my way with right hand ascending scales for a little while. I think it was due to the 6th Paganini Etude, drilling that to death, the Chopin Concerto, just a B major scale at the end, and a few other passages where I would drill them so much that my hand started to tighten anytime I would get to an ascending scale. It's never bothered me descending, but ascending it started to bother me. And so I did a total rebuild, and I want to show you what has worked for me. Now, this is something that should take time. This doesn't come overnight. It might come overnight for some of you if you've never thought of these concepts, but for me, it's been an exercise in patience. I can still play my right hand ascending scales up to, 180, 190, 4 notes per click. But as I've applied these to all the other scale directions, because you have ascending right hand, descending right hand, ascending left, descending left, I've been able to actually, in the last couple of years, get faster than I ever have before, all the way up to about 212, maybe 220 on a really good day, 4 notes per click. And I'll demonstrate that a little bit later in this video. But all of this to say, don't try to skip steps and immediately get to the 4th step, which is going to incorporate different movement to help you bridge the gap between a fast speed and a really fast speed. Okay, let's get started. Step number 1, I don't want, where most students have issues is on the cross. So they're fine doing that, but then they do all sorts of weird things. They might straighten, they might contort, they might twist, they might, have certain fingers wing out, others not. I want you to get rid of crosses altogether for step 1. And we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 impulses with the right fingering. So we'll start up here, and feel free just to do this in 1 octave as we get going in the most comfortable position, which would probably be there or there. Up here is not as comfortable, but we'll start doing 4 octaves just to save time in this video. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then leave the pinky on its own. If you want to, you can do that. A few thoughts. There's multiple steps within step 1 that you need to think about. That's the concept. We're just going to do 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4 impulses. But we're going to do something that I go back to Sergei Babayan's lessons. The very first lesson that I ever did with him, he's like, you must take the keys. Fingers must be active. You must take. And so it was really interesting as I taught this student yesterday. I said, play me those impulses. And he went like this. He was nice curved position. And then he went. He had a little up preparatory motion that didn't serve him at all. I said, that's a sign of tension. I said, instead, lay the hands slightly flatter. We're not going to hyperextend all of our joints like that to where we're trying to get them inverted, but just lay them. It can still be curved, but it's going to be a little bit flatter of a position. And then I want you just to take the keys. Taking meaning, I don't want to put weird trigger words in your mind that's going to cause confusion or further issues down the road, but it literally is a little bit of a pulling, stroking motion, but we're not like stroking way back on the key. We're also not pulling all the way into our palm, because that's actually what happened to me. I got so active in my right hand ascending that I would start pulling things too hard, and then I didn't have enough time. It would always work up to a certain speed, but then I never had time to reset those fingers. So we don't want to overactivate and pull it too hard. Okay, so It was really interesting when I gave my student this, and it's Ron, by the way. I won't say last names to protect his privacy, but he's one of my favorite people I've ever met. He's such a nice guy and really enjoy teaching him, and bright student. And he said, you don't have to force the curl. It just happens automatically. So you don't need to be like, I got to be a good student in my curved position like this. That can actually cause extra tension if you're just slightly flatter and you take the key. The position automatically works itself out. The last thing I want you to think about that he also said when I had him start taking the keys like this is I said, activate the scale using your arm. So that is a little bit of a stroking back motion, but it's activated all the way through the arm. You can think all the way through the shoulder, even back into your shoulder blades if you want. So it's a very holistic way of starting the scale. It's no longer, I've got to like swing into it or do something that might twist your hand in a weird way or cause those fingers to curl. You're just taking it. Okay? All right. The next step, we're going to go slightly faster. Okay? That's step number 2. And the thumb is going to activate slightly to get us into that position. And you'll notice, and you may have already noticed this in step 1, that since we have, if you look at my hand on the overhead cam, look at the distance of that thumb all the way to that finger. It's so much shorter. And so because it's a shorter, even when I'm in a curved position, it still is behind these other fingers. So as I do this, you're going to notice as you do these 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 positions, your hand will generally move in a little bit on the thumb and out a little bit on the longer fingers. Okay, and so what I want you to do is fall into position. So we're gonna go, we talked about this a little bit in the flop exercise video. I posted that maybe 6 months ago or so. Okay, so we're just gonna fall into position and our thumb is gonna activate slightly. We're not gonna leave it hanging out here and then have to jump that distance. We're just going to allow it as those other fingers play, just to kind of tuck under a little bit. And when I say thumb tuck, you're not like yanking it towards your palm and feeling all the tension there. It's just a slight little movement. Just do this with your thumb, nice and easy. Okay, the whole thing as we rebuild these exercises, or if you're just recalibrating like I was, my scales, is to think of soft hands. Baba Yan used to always say, no bones in the hands. Think of just soft hands and pillow fingers. And I loved that because it really, at least from my mind, those were definite trigger words to unlock things. Those were unlocking mechanisms. They weren't, nervous system activation words. Those were calming words. Okay, so you're just gonna fall into position. And sorry, I'm really long-winded in this because there's a lot of mechanics that go into scales. Just to playing an easy C major scale, I want to make sure we cover all the bases. Okay, step number 3, combine those and play smoothly. And this step is going to be unique to each of you. I have something that I like to do. I want you to have a catalyst word. A catalyst is something that causes a reaction elsewhere. So baking soda can be a catalyst to vinegar, creating that chemical. Hopefully I'm getting that terminology right. I haven't been in chemistry for 20 years. So as I play this position, I start to combine them and play them smoothly. I want to think, open the hand. Open, 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 open. What I'm saying by open is I don't want to stay in a tucked or curled or curved, however you want to think about it, position like this. That's what was happening in my right hand. I'd want to go there. So I've just been, as I've rebuilt my scales, open, open, open. And then as I combine those positions, it starts to feel really smooth like that. You might notice as I play that right hand that my hand's still a little bit flatter than my left hand, as I just demonstrated fast. We're going to get to how to make that position more compact in step 4. But for now, I just want you to think of reopening the hand. All the steps up to now, just thinking in this position, that's one impulse. That's one move. It's not 1, 2, 3 moves, it's one move. And it's activated all the way through my whole body. Well, upper body, arm, back, hand, wrist, finger. But there's no one muscle or one impulse that's working so much harder than the other. It's very holistic. Okay, that was step 1. We're gonna slightly, in step 2, start to allow that thumb to tuck under, if you like the word fall under, or slide under, or flow under. Find the thing that works for your mind. Everyone has different unlocking mechanisms. Real quick diversion from the video. That dreadful little part in La Campanella, I worked on that for about 5 years, and I took it to Sergei Babayan, and I said, I can't play this. I don't know why. And he said, don't press. And it was like a magic key unlocked my mind. That doesn't always happen. That didn't happen in every lesson with him where he would just say one thing and I could magically play it. But in that instance, it was. You have to find these words that unlock your mind. So if you don't like the word tuck, maybe you like the word flow. So anyway, I'm getting a little off topic, but I feel like that's an important point because a lot of times people are triggered to get more tense when they hear a certain word. So we're going to activate that thumb, active thumb, kind of just falling into position. That's step 2. And then step 3, we're going to combine those and have the catalyst word. Mine is open, 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 open. Okay? Step number 4, I personally believe that you can probably get up to, about 180, because that's maybe 190. That's where my right hand's feeling really good. I'm still kind of, as I've done this rebuild, I'm still between step 3 and 4. And you might think, gosh, what's this idiot doing teaching on YouTube? He's played piano for 30 years and he can't play scales. Well, I'm talking about very quick scales. Beyond 190 is very fast, and you don't need that speed for most piano pieces. There are a few like this in the Liszt Rhapsody number 2. That flies. That's going faster than 190 for sure. But I still want to do it just to get the fluidity into the hand. So don't be in a rush to get to step 4 and pull everything in tighter. Okay? Open the hand, allow it to stay there. And I think, okay. That's 180. Let's go to 192. Let's go to 200. Let's go to 208. Let's go to let's try 216. This is about my limit right in here. And if you're having trouble keeping track of it, you want to count 8 clicks on the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Because it's really hard to hear that level of alignment when you're going that fast. Okay, so that was 216. Maybe we can push to 220. I know at least going up. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That one's getting a little iffy, but that was 220. Okay? Just so you know I'm not a liar. Let me turn this off. So the thing that I want to think about as I go after step 3, because opening that hand needs to be, all of these movements that we've done, steps 1 through 3, need to start condensing a little bit in order to... Do you see a lot of open, open, open? No, that takes more time. But that is a necessary step because students do all sorts of weird crap. They'll go, like I said at the beginning, they'll contort. So I like the idea of simplifying the move into one impulse And then as we get more comfortable, let that marinate for a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a year. Let that marinate for a while. You'll be able to get to plenty fast speeds that are plenty fast for almost any scenario, like that 180, 190 range. There'll be a few instances where you need faster scales, or maybe you just want the fluidity like me, because I'm totally OCD. Step number 4 is to slowly introduce doorknob rotation. I personally find that when I teach doorknob rotation with scales at slow speeds, students tend to do weird stuff. They start to develop tension in their hands in weird ways. It even happened to me. I started to do that. I don't know why that happened, but after a while of drilling a few of those passages that I mentioned, I started to want to pull that whole hand in, and I noticed that if I just thought of opening the hand and then taking the keys, it suddenly got a lot smoother. So as you get to step 4, we can slowly bring that hand a little bit more compact. You're still opening the hand, but you're not opening it to the same extent. You're just opening it to there. Open and take. Open and take. Okay? So as I'm doing the first impulses, I'm going to feel a little bit of black key interference, and that's okay. Okay? But as I get smoother with it, you will start to realize the hand can remain compact. Okay, so that is today's lesson, the 4 steps. I want to go into something else, like say that we're doing B flat major. These steps are all the same. You might just need to reposition your hand slightly more forward in order to reach those black keys. What I want you to avoid is suddenly jumping in for the blacks. I remember Logan Skelton, my teacher at Michigan. I was playing Rachmaninoff's Second Concerto. I can't even remember. It's like 4 pages in. And he said, you'll be playing, and then all of a sudden you'll jump in frantically to grab a black key. He's like, think of gradually getting to those black keys. So if you're playing B flat major, I still am feeling taking of the keys, but I might just be positioned a little further in. Also, something I haven't mentioned a whole lot of, I mentioned the doorknob rotation. So we're going to go this way and then fall into the next position. And it will almost feel like this little flick once you get it calibrated. And it feels really good. You will feel that flick less, perhaps, on some of the black keys. Because, look, I don't have to flick so much from here into that. That's a bad example, sorry. That I'm opening here, I'm already up in the black key, so it's just kind of falling down to the white key. But you'll feel these little moves like this, and it really speeds things up. So, because you're using the momentum of the arm to take some of those keys. The thing that I fell into, and I'm very open on this channel if you couldn't see already, I tell you guys my journeys, I tell you guys my pitfalls, my weaknesses. I do that not to, unload emotional baggage on you, but to show you that even someone who's played a lot of difficult repertoire, I have a doctorate in music, I teach a bunch of students, I have all these online courses teaching piano, there's still things that can creep up in my hand that may not have even been there. I've thought in the last year, am I getting worse as a pianist? And my wife's a very good therapist for me, and she's like, look at your old scale videos and tell me what you see. And I was like, I never demonstrated beyond 180. She's like, yeah, you've gotten 3 out of the 4 of your scale directions up to 210, 220, somewhere in there. One of them needs a little extra recalibration to get there. You're actually getting better. And you can totally get into your own head of, I'm getting worse. I'm not making progress. These are hard things to do. So you might notice one scale is really hard. A lot of my colleagues always thought, in college, the F sharp minor was so hard. I never found that one hard, but I found B minor a little awkward in my hand. I didn't like that one as much. It never felt as natural. It just felt like kind of cramped right there, and then it's more spread out there. So I've applied these same concepts. Take, open, and that is really working a lot of relaxation back into my playing on those ascending scale passages. I was amazed at the progress that Ron made yesterday, and I hope this helps each of you. Again, these videos are very much like a journal for me, documenting things that I discover, because a lot of times you're placed in situations that you've never faced before in tiny different ways that might cause something weird to happen in your hand. Don't fret about it. Don't drill to death. That's something I do, and it can cause more issues. Don't do that. I'm saying from personal experience, it's bad. Solve things calmly, comfortably, with loving yourself. I know that sounds so cheesy, but encourage yourself. Don't get down on yourself. I hope today's video helps to straighten out your scales, recalibrate them, or get them faster. If any of you have any questions, my email's josh@joshwrightpiano.com. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me. It helps to build the channel, and also sharing or liking the video helps to spread it to more people, so I'd greatly appreciate that. If you'd like to go even deeper than this channel goes over, I have a bunch of online courses, 2 paid courses that I'll leave links for in the description below. And I'll also leave a link for my gear kit, all the lighting, cameras, mics that I use to record these videos, in case any of you are wanting to do something similar. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.